Hey, this is me, Marvin. Of course, it's me. I just finished watching I Think We're Alone Now, which is a documentary of basically two people. Let me just go ahead and read the summary so that way I get it right. Go back. That's not what I want. Go back. Which is a documentary focuses on two individuals obsessed with 1980s pop star Tiffany, an intersexual, and a 50-year-old man with Asperger's syndrome. And so, which Asperger's syndrome is starting to come up more and more in my life. It seems like I actually knowing a guy with it, and it can be a difficult thing because they people with Asperger's syndromes are like generally like this. Is basically they kind of get obsessed or get really focused, and they know like a lot of facts and things like that about very specific things. They can just like rattle right off stuff. But as for social situations, they're just what's the word obtuse, but I'm not sure if that's the right word for that. They're just not aware of social cues and social etiquettes and whatnot. They don't pick up on that real well, and so it's hard for them to have like long lasting friendships, relationships, anything like that, because they don't understand emotions of others. They just can't pick up on that stuff like a person who doesn't have it would. And so it makes it very difficult. I've been in that situation many times where I was with someone and who had the syndrome, and they'd be talking and I would start to get kind of uncomfortable or kind of ready to move on to something else, and they weren't yet. And generally people can pick up on what you're feeling, if you're expressing it, or you think they'll be able to pick up on mood change. But for him, he wasn't able to easily pick up on that, so he kept going and going and going. And it kind of got more and more awkward for me because I was kind of like, started trying to move on to something else. And they weren't really picking up on the signs that I know without me just outright saying, okay, let's talk about something else. And it can be very difficult if you're not used to that or know how to operate around someone like that. And so it's a challenge for sure. And so basically we have these two people. One is like this person who's intersexual, which is a person who has basically both genitalia from what I was receiving. And they somehow they fell in love with Tiffany, this pop star that was really hot in the 80s for a very brief time. And and they just love them, and probably have all their music and stuff like that. And then we had this other guy who actually was in the news and stuff for stalking Tiffany, and several times, and he has Asperger's syndrome, and he seemed like he'd probably be a nice guy with it, but you could see there were many times where he'd be talking, and other people would just be like, okay, we're ready to walk away, it just was getting awkward. And every time I would see him, it actually showed us a couple times we actually interacted with Tiffany, the pop star herself, and she was actually pretty cool about the whole situation. I think she was kind of like, I've seen this guy before, kind of know what to expect, and she understands his syndrome, so she just kind of rolls with it. And what I thought was actually one of the more interesting part is that the guy with Asperger's syndrome, he goes to church, which is a great way to have kind of a little community built together, a support system. That's great for that, or for really anyone. And I guess Tiffany had went to a convention where it was for like erotic models and porn stars and stuff like that. And since Tiffany apparently had done a photo shoot for Playboy at some point in time, she was there, and I guess doing sign signatures or whatever. And he showed up, and I guess she's a Christian, I guess he's a Christian, and so, or they're both in the same faith, and so he talked when he got back to church about how he had went to this thing, which doesn't really seem like something you would really bring up at church, that you went to an erotic erotic models convention, and where there's like, pictures of nude people and stuff like that, and porn stars and whatnot. And I could kind of tell that the people there were kind of like, why are you bringing this up, And then he was talking about how he felt, there was a real communion between him and Tiffany, and they both felt like, they were both great time of great faith or whatever, and it just felt connected and whatever. And I just kind of tell everyone in the crowd was kind of like, why are you bringing this up? and it just was kind of awkward, but kind of funny at the same time. And I also gotta learn too, no matter how quote unquote, I guess, past your time you seem to be as a star, there's going to be some kind of avenue for you to go into. It seems like, or there's some place where people are going to want to see you because you still have a fan base somewhere in there. Especially if you were a really, really big star. It's nowhere as big as what it was when you initially probably had it. But there's some kind of fan base still out there seeking you. And there are events and things that you can go to keep yourself kind of financially supported. If you put out enough work and stuff like that, and you have just enough of a fan base. Some you don't have to have a huge one, just enough of one to kind of keep yourself supported. And so that's also kind of like inspiring. So even if you never really are able to maintain your stardom, you can still have people still want to see you on some kind of capacity. People still get excited about you, especially if you're like attached to their childhood or something like that. That stuff sticks with people, and kind of interesting. But yeah, I think it was a very interesting documentary, and just seeing how people truly felt a connection with this celebrity who they've met. Well, one of them met a few times, but they don't know these people in any great depth or anything, They just know them overall as a pop star, and they met him a few times, And one person had never even met the girl, I think, until this last time when he went to this thing. And it was just very interesting to see how these people just really form these bonds, and how we as people have to form bonds with artists and actors and musicians and whatever, even though we don't know them personally. We like to feel that we do know them, and somehow there's something that they do, something about them that attracts us to them and connects. We make some kind of bond, almost kind of like a one-sided bond, and it just fuels all this creativity and inspiration and love and just everything, and it's just very interesting. So I'm glad I watched it, made me think about the world a little bit more and opened my mind just a little bit more. This is me, Marvin.